And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Saturday Night Wine Stream and another exciting edition of Drink with Rick. I'm Rick, and tonight we're going to be opening up a Stemmari. This is a Pinot Noir that I purchased at our local wine store in Blakeney, North Carolina. This was some weeks back. I actually purchased it last month, and we're just now going to open it up. I've got it chilled a little bit because this Pinot should be chilled between 60 and 65 degrees. So I've got that chilled, and we're going to try that out very shortly. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone for joining me in the chat. Those who are in the chat with me, I can't see everybody, unfortunately, so you'll need to say hi in the chat. I think we have some folks in here now. I think Chris is with us, James, my lovely wife Chi, and I think Jessica. I think I'm looking at this correctly. Here's the problem, is that during the last couple of weeks, there have been some changes with Facebook Live, and some of these changes I'm not used to. This is really new to me, so you'll need to jump in the chat and say hi to me in order for me to see you in the chat. I've got to figure this out. I can't say that I'm really thrilled with their new format here. I don't know I'm going to have to sort that out. And of course, I was a little late to the party on this because I was out last week, so I'm just catching up now. But if you're joining us for the first time, this is Drink with Rick. This is a show about wine. It's not about me. It's a little bit about the wine. We try some wines, we taste it, we pair it with foods, and we just sit back and have a great time. And this is mostly a show about us, you and me interacting. So please interact me where you can. We are, we're on drinkwithrick.com. You can go to the website to drinkwithrick.com and watch live. And unfortunately, I don't have a chat set up there, but there's a comments. If you go to the actual page where the stream is going on, you can actually put in some comments, and I'll see those and respond in kind. You can also check us out on Facebook. We're on Facebook, of course, where I'm looking at the chat right now. Our Facebook page, Drink with Rick. YouTube, which YouTube is going just fine. It's going like gangbusters today, so you can jump in and say hi to me on YouTube. Tell me how you're doing, how things are going. And you can also watch us on Twitch. And I had some trouble just before the show. If you were listening in at the start of the show, I was having some trouble getting things going on Twitch for some reason. I didn't want to reconnect, but we're reconnecting now. And it looks like we're good on Twitter tonight, too, via Periscope. So you can interact with me on Twitter at Drink with Rick. And on Twitch, if you're on Twitch, it's Drink with Rick 1. That's what we're looking at. Let's see. I can't see anyone jumping into the chat at the moment. So if you want to chat with me, you're going to need to. Let me see if I can do it another way here for just a moment. Like I said, I was out for the last couple of weeks, and I've been having to make some quick changes here for tonight, and I can't really see. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to work out this thing with Facebook. I'm not sure I'm liking their new streaming format, their new live format. I don't know about that, but I'm just going to take some getting used to for me. I was out the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I tell you, the last 2 or 3 weeks it's been kind of interesting, a little bit rough and interesting. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Anyway, once again, back to the show. You can, of course, check out the podcast later at drinkwithrick.com. The podcast goes on Monday nights at 10 p.m. You can hear that's the audio-only version of this live stream. So if you miss it, you can also watch the live stream later. We've got it recorded, and you'll be able to catch it later on the flip side if you missed anything here in the show that you'd like to catch up on. So let's go ahead and introduce the wine. I don't see anyone over in the chat so far at the moment that I can see, that I can actually view, but I think I want to say we have some people watching, but I can't really tell. Let's see. All right. You just have to say hi to me in the chat live and see if I can see you from there. All right, so this is the wine that we're drinking tonight. I don't have a whole lot of information pulled up on it because I've been just doing a lot of last-minute show prep, and it took me a little bit longer than expected. I had a few glitches because everything was down for a few weeks, but we're back. Tonight, we're going to take a look at this wine. This is a Stemmari. This is Stemmari Pinot Noir. This is a 2017, and I do have a one sheet on this from the website at this is at stemmari.it, I believe is the website. But according to their sheet, it is an elegant wine that expresses all of the intensity of Sicily. This wine is produced in the Sambuca of Sicily in the province of Agrigento. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It is best when grown with a lot of sunlight and in soil that has a light amount of clay. The type of farming is espalier, used with an average density of planting where there are 4,500 plants per 2.5 acres. So according to the sheet here, I'm reading off the sheet also, once again. It's a 100% Pinot Noir. It is a variety that is precocious, maturing around the end of August or beginning of September, collected from the grapes that have achieved perfect aromatic and polyphenolic maturation. They are destemmed and cooled for compressing and maceration at 54 degrees for 2 days. The successive alcoholic fermentation takes place for 7 days at 77 degrees, and a small portion of the wine is matured in French oak barricks for 6 to 7 months. Now, this should be an interesting wine to taste. I'm going to shot of the back end. I'm going to read the backside for you too, in case you can't see it very well. It says, elegant wine that embodies the intensity of Sicily. The richness of this wine is accompanied by a wild fruit bouquet accented with strong, spicy notes. Pairs well with roasts, red meats, and pastas with meat sauces. Serving temperature 61 to 64 degrees, and it is right about mid 60 degrees because I had this in my wine cool a little bit before the show. I just pulled it out a little while ago, and I think it's just about the right temperature to serve it. The Stemmari Winery implements a wide range of sustainable practices for grape growing and the surrounding ecosystem, guaranteed by the European certification EMAS. And you can learn more about this wine on stemmari.it. And that's there is 13% alcohol by volume in this 750 milliliter bottle. And it is a product of Italy. This is a Pinot Noir from Italy, from Sicily. So this should be very, very interesting to try this out. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. Once again, if you're, I think Tim is there, and Tim, I saw that you liked the post on Facebook, but I actually can't see you in the chat. For some reason, this live stream thing, they throw up a chat area in the live portion, but I can't actually. The old system here had. Let me go back here for a minute. The old system had a chat in the corner. Tim, there he is. Now I can see you. Hi, Tim. It's great to see you. I'm glad you're here. He says, hi, Rick. Glad to see you. And anyone else, please jump in and say hi, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to see you in the chat. Unfortunately, the way the guy said before, I could see people showing up in the chat, whether they actually commented or not. The way they've redone this Facebook Live page, you can't do that anymore. You can only see them if they're live from what it looks like here. So it's something I'm going to have to get used to, folks, but I know you're out there, and I do appreciate you being here. So, getting back to the wine, I didn't pull up a whole lot on this wine. I had some things on it. I did not pull it up tonight because I was so busy trying to do all this other show prep. And I'm going to explain that in just a little bit. Before I do that, I'm going to show you what I have to pair the wine with tonight. I have, let me get a closer shot of this. I have this nice little platter that my lovely wife Chi put together for me. Some spaghetti and meatballs. There's a big meatball there. We have some cheese there. It looks like, I think this is a mozzarella. And then there is the Gouda, I believe that's the Gouda cheese that I love so much from Trader Joe's. There is a beef summer sausage and some crackers. That should suffice for tonight, I think. We're going to try that a little bit, see how it pairs up. This wine's supposed to, Pinot Noirs they have a very wide latitude of foods that they go well with and that pair nicely with. So it's a very versatile wine for the most part. I don't know about this particular one, but we're going to try it out. The thing is that Pinots in general go pretty well with pastas and red sauces, so this should be fine. This should be fine. So anyway, without further ado, let me go ahead and we'll open this. And I have everything I need to open this with. Now, I do have a different glass. In the first year of Drink with Rick, we were using a glass from one of the restaurants in my Cooper's Hawk glass, the famous Cooper's Hawk genuine crystal glass. I wanted to mix it up a little bit and try something different. This is a glass that I received as a gift a couple of years ago. I'll give you a shot of it. I received a really, really nice set of crystal goblets and wine glasses from my employers, Danny and Charity, and at where I work at buy2wayradios.com. They gave it to me as a gift, and along with a nice crystal craft. This is a Galway Irish crystal, and this is a genuine crystal. I didn't do that loud enough, right? There we go. I love this sound. Genuine crystal, genuine Irish crystal glass from Ireland. And up to this point, I've just kind of kept it in a safe place because it's just kind of a showpiece. But I really wanted to get to use them on special occasions, and I think that this is a special occasion. And I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and open. Let's go ahead and open this wine. And fortunately, it just has a screw cap, and so we have it to open there. And of course, to aerate it, I have my trusty aerator from the Veneto Wine Lover set. This is the Veneto aerator to aerate the wine, and it is just at the perfect temperature for pouring this wine. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it now, and I'm just going to pour a little bit to get it going. It's a really nice glass. I like this glass. Beautiful, beautiful. And this is well, you can see you can see the tears nicely in this. How about that? It's very nice. I like this glass better, actually, I think. While it's opening up a little, we're going to let the wine open up a little bit. And breathe a bit. Before we do that, I wanted to tell you that this wine it's actually a fairly light body, and not it's kind of light to medium body, I should say, and you get a little. Smells like a Pinot. Not a lot. There's not a lot on the nose. For starters, there's not a lot on the nose, but I can smell a little bit of blackberry and a little hint of cherry, maybe a little strawberry in there too, maybe a little strawberry. And let's give it a little swirl here. Try to be careful about it. Easier for me to swirl it in this glass than in the Cooper's Hawk glass because it was a much smaller glass, and I had to be careful not slosh things. I have a lot of debris still on my keyboard where I've sloshed wine and spilled it over the last 50 streams. So let's give this a taste. Huh? And it smells like a fairly mature Pinot. Okay, first taste. A little blackberry, not real strong on the blackberry. There's several different flavors in here. Let me see. A little bit of strawberry, just a hint of cherry, and a little bit spicy. Slight hint of wood. There's more strawberry in it, Yeah, it's very light tannins. Very light. It is tannic, but very light tannins. Not a whole lot. And a little acidic, a little bit of acidity. But you know what? It has a very light finish. There's not a whole lot of an. I'm gonna have to try another. Not a lot of an aftertaste on this. Yeah, it has a very light finish. There's not a whole lot. There's not a real lingering taste after that. It doesn't hang around for very long. This tastes like I mean, it's not watery or anything. It's just a very light finish. Now, the thing is about this, it's easy to drink. I would have to say that this is. I think you want to be kind of careful with this wine. 13% alcohol, which is about an average for some of these wines, and 13 to 14% average for a lot of the Pinots. So that's not an exorbitantly high amount of alcohol. But I think this is one you want to kind of be careful to drink because you could probably easily go through this bottle without realizing it. Mm-hmm. And I think this glass helps. This glass, the way it's structured, it helps to capture the aroma and the flavor. Like I said, there's not a whole lot on the nose. It's not real strong. Like some of the wines we've had, I think let's see, what we opened up a couple of weeks ago. I think what was it, the Castorina and the Fattoria. Those were fairly strong on the nose. This is not. This is a very light. And I think a lot of people would like to drink this just as a social drink or just to kick back and relax a little bit after a hard day, and then they could just kick back and relax a little bit and not have anything too heavy to drink. This is not a heavy wine, I should say. It's actually fairly light. Let's go ahead, though, and pair it with some food, because I think I want to go right into that. We're going to go ahead and try it. I had some of this. I had some of the spaghetti and meatball for dinner tonight, and and it's actually good spaghetti that my lovely wife Chi made. We're going to try a little bit of the spaghetti. Put it on the. I'm usually pretty good about swirling it on my fork. This one is a little bit messy here. Let's just get it on there, huh? And the sauce is kind of a medium sauce. It's not real too. Goes nice with the pasta. I like it with the pasta. Let's try it with the meatball. There's a little bit of meatball here. Let's try the meatball and the meat sauce. I think it's a meatball with a marinara sauce, actually. But it's a pretty good sauce. I like that. It does. Now this is lightly acidic. There's a touch of it, but it actually does accentuate the tomato sauce in here a little bit. It does accentuate that, and I think it brings out a little bit of the meat flavor of the meatball, just a little bit. Let's pour a little bit more of this, and we'll try it with the And now I don't know that I'm really expecting too much from this. This is the beef summer sausage, which is actually good, by the way. Maybe clean that up a little. It's a good summer sausage. Not bad. Now, this sausage is not too spicy. It's fairly spicy. The sausage goes better probably with a spicier or a more heavily acidic wine, something that's a little bit more tannins too. A wine that has stronger tannins would probably go better with that maybe, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Let's try it though with the cheese. I don't know about the mozzarella. The mozzarella is kind of a light cheese, and this wine probably needs more of a medium cheese for it. We'll try it with that. A little on the sour side with the mozzarella. I'm not sure I'm liking that too much. It is a little on the sour side, the mozzarella cheese. But let's try it with the Gouda, because the Trader Joe's Gouda, which is one of my personal favorites, I have not gone wrong with this cheese yet. We tried it with almost a dozen different wines back there, and it's paired really well with all of them. And there's... we'll try it out. Oh yeah. It's a little, this wine is kind of light fare, so it really doesn't bring out too much with the cheese, but I think it still works with it okay. I think it'll still work with the cheese okay. So I'll say it hasn't lost yet. It's still kind of a winner, but I think the cheese mostly saves some of that rather than the wine. But it's not bad with the wine. Not. I might prefer a couple of the other wines with the cheese, but it's not bad. So let's see. I know I see some other people coming up in the chat list, but not coming up in the saying anything in the chat itself. So I really need to see you in the chat and say hi to me. Just say hi to me in order for me to know that you're really there. But I think I've got Pete here and Chris and James and Michelle there, what it looks like. And that's when I can tell if I'm reading this correctly with this new redone Facebook chat. Once again, the old Facebook chat, I could see everybody pop up clear as day, and it was not a big deal. The way they've redesigned this, I'm not really sure I'm liking this new design for Facebook Live. But let me go ahead and check and see what we've got going on in... Nothing going on. Well, we are online on YouTube, and YouTube it's Drink with Rick. So if you want to watch on YouTube, you can jump over there, and we're right there. Twitch, nothing going on in the chat in Twitch at the moment. It looks like Twitch is having some issues here. Twitch is definitely having some issues tonight. I don't know what's going on with that. Twitter, we've got people tweeting on Twitter, and we are live there. So let's see if I can see any notifications there. We got a couple of people there. No comments. All right. Let's get to the next phase of this, the next segment of this Saturday Night Wine Stream. And if it sounds like I'm a little bit rusty tonight, it's because I'm not 100%, and I'll explain what of course, a couple weeks ago, we had the week off on the wine stream a couple of weeks ago, while our family went down to Orlando for Podfest 2020. We had a great time, by the way, at Podfest. It was a great time. Tommy and I, now Chi and Tia, they're not really into the podcasting thing too much, so they pretty much stayed to the hotel and visiting with family because we have family down there. But Tommy and I were at Podfest all weekend, Friday through Sunday, and we had a great time. We had a blast. As always, we got to catch up with a lot of our friends, a lot of our fellow podcasters there, some friends, people that we met there in the first Podfest that we went to 3 years ago, and we met a lot of new friends, and we got a chance to hang out with a lot of people, and we just had a great time in general. Learned a lot. But it was just a great time. I want to acknowledge, I think if I'm reading this correctly in this chat here, I'd like to acknowledge, I see Chris has joined us. We got two Chris's there, Chris Tiffany and Chris Krimitsos, my good friend, both my good friends. Chris Krimitsos, who is one of the founders of Podfest, as a matter of fact, and a good friend of both Tommy and me, great guy. And his family, he and his wife, do a fabulous job with Podfest every year, and they're podcasters in their own right as well. And my good friend Alex is in the chat as well. Alex, it's great to see you too. And Pete, my cousin Pete, is in the chat. Pete, it's great to see you, and I'm glad you're here. I hope Denise and Aunt Connie are doing well. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. This is a rough time for everybody. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I kind of want to say that towards the end because really, you know what? A lot of people are cooped up at home. A lot of people are sort of hunkered down, for lack of a better term, at the moment. And I think with everything that's been going on the last few weeks or last month or two, it's just been crazy and it's been stressful on everybody. And you know what? This is a stress reliever. This, if we can take an hour and a half just to set aside on a Saturday night and just relax and just kind of give ourselves a little bit of a break from all the stress and everything that's going on, just sit back and have a good time, chat with each other in the chat, and just kind of let a lot of the stress there kind of melt away and have a little respite from that, And Pete says, hey, Rick, alive and kicking in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Pete and Denise stuck in the house. Yeah, just like most of the rest of us, Pete. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm glad to hear you guys are okay, and I hope you continue to be okay. Lancaster is a beautiful area, too. That we're talking about the countryside of Lancaster. We've spent quite a bit of time there. And it's probably as good a place to be as any, especially during this time, because there's a little more wide open space. You've got a little more space for social distancing and all that sort of thing. All of a sudden it's a term, right? I've never heard of the term before, and all of a sudden it's a term. But I guess it's a term we're going to have to get used to, right? I want to, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I do want to say it is great to be back after a couple of weeks. So here's what happened. We went to Podfest a couple of weeks ago, and we met a lot of our friends there. James Jerome, him and his family, and his daughter Izzy, who is just amazing podcaster. She's very, very young. She was about 9 or so, and she does an amazing podcast. And I think that's something that I think you really want to encourage in young people, especially when they have that kind of a talent for doing that sort of thing. You definitely want to encourage it. I did that with my son, and 10 years later, of course, he is out podcasting, and he has a great career ahead of himself in media. So you just never know what, when you introduce them to the microphone like that, where it could lead. And I think that's great. Any young person who gets into this today and can make a go of it, I think that's definitely worth encouraging. It really is. Anyway, I'm wandering off. Now, for those of you watching for the first time, now this is a stream of consciousness kind of show. I do have show notes. I have some right here, as a matter of fact. I do have show notes, and I do some show prep. But for the most part, this is just kind of a stream of consciousness show where we just sit down, get together, we open up the wine, we toast birthdays and whatever, we talk about stuff, and, I'll go off on tangents. It's fine. I'll go off on tangents. This is not a a really super structured show. And the thing is that it's not intended to be one. This is it's exactly the way it's intended to be. This is supposed to be an off the cuff, nice, kick back on Saturday night, to sit around, talk, just like we'd be chatting around at the local pub or in a restaurant over a meal or something like that. Just sit back and chat and have a good time. That's what this show is all about. So anyway, we were at Podfest. Now, towards the middle or the end of Podfest, my daughter was not feeling great, and she was having a little bit of rough time. And we headed back from Podfest, and then after that, I fell ill. So we have it was not coronavirus. Okay, none of this was coronavirus. It was the flu. We went to the doctor after we got back after a few days of that. We got back and we both had influenza B. We had caught the flu, regular flu, and of course the whole family pretty much came down with it at that point. So the week right after we got back from Podfest, that's why I had to cancel the wine stream last week, is because we were all in bed with the flu pretty much. And I didn't really feel much like drinking wine or anything, so that's what happened to us last weekend. But we've all recovered. We've all recovered, and we're doing fine. We're doing fine. The funny thing is, my wife Chi, she's the only one who's escaped that so far. Knock on wood, and this is wood, by the way. But you know what? This is one of those times when I do appreciate my wife. I really do. Always have. But I tell you what, it is, if you want to really be taken care of the rest of your life, guys, especially if you want to be taken care of the rest of your life, marry a nurse. Marry an RN. My wife is an RN. She has been for several decades. She's an old hand at that. And she knows her stuff. And she nursed us. She literally nursed us all back to health. She took great care of all of us. As nurses do. And there's a lot to be said for nurses, especially these days, what's going on. They are unsung heroes. My wife definitely, I should say, is an unsung hero in that respect. And she's more than earned my love and respect. I love her anyway, but she's more than earned my love and great respect over the years, over the many years I've known her. And I've been married to her, and she has just always been there for me and for all of us, our family. But I tell you what, when you have a nurse in the house, that is probably that is a great asset to have, and especially during these times, as I could say, we're very, very fortunate, very blessed to have my wife Chi. And I want to make my first toast to my lovely wife Chi, because she really went above and beyond and went way out. And I know she had responsibilities, that sort of thing. She felt responsible to us, but I'll tell you what, the care that we received from Chi, not just personally but also professionally as an RN, it's just something that I feel is really something I really want to. I can't overstress just how grateful I am to my wife for being there for all of us. So Chi, here's to you, my lovely wife Chi. Thanks for everything, and we love you. And to you. That's from my wife Chi. So we're back. We're okay. Everything is good in that respect. However, like most of the rest of the country, we're sort of confined to home right now, and I know it is a tough time for everybody. But I want to say that we're all in this together. And that's what this is all about, right? We're all in this together. Let's make the most of it together. My wife, Chi, goes, yeah, that's the well-fed hubby, LOL. Anyway, so let me check and see who else is in the chat before I go any farther, because we're going to toast some birthdays. I'm a little bit late on this, and I want to apologize to everyone whose birthdays that I missed because I was out last week and because I was at Podfest the week before. Looks like we're back on Twitch. I don't know what's going on Twitch, but now we weren't on, and now we're back live on Twitch. So if you're on Twitch, jump in, say hi, tell me how you're doing. I don't know what's going on with Twitch tonight. It's just wacky stuff. So anyway. We're going to go ahead with the birthdays now. It's time to toast birthdays, right? And first on my list, one that I missed. I know I missed some birthdays, and if I missed yours, if I missed your birthday, I apologize. Last 2 weeks were kind of crazy. We'll catch you next time. Or if you just had a birthday, jump in and tell me when your birthday is, and I would definitely toast you. I would love to toast you on your birthday and wish you a happy belated birthday. Or if you have one coming up, that's fine. Jump in the chat, and I'll toast you as well. But I want to acknowledge my friend Andrew J. Nelson, whose birthday was on the 19th. I missed it. Sorry about that, Andrew. I was still a little bit. I was still recovering a little bit, but I was actually back to work at that point. But Andrew, I just wanted to toast you and say happy birthday to you. And the next one on my list, another good friend of mine, Chris, who I believe is in the chat, hiding out in the chat there somewhere as well. Chris Tiffany. Chris, your birthday was yesterday, right? Friday? It was yesterday, on the 27th. And I want to say, I'm not going to ask how old you are. I would not be polite, but I can guess. But I want to toast you and say happy birthday to my friend Chris. Happy birthday to you, Chris. And may you have many, 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 many more. Another good friend of mine whose birthday is... Actually, Chris, Chris is coming up Friday, right? Chris's birthday is coming up Friday. That's the 27th. Sorry. It was not this past Friday. It's this coming Friday. I'm working backwards on my list. But anyway, Chris, your birthday's coming up. We'll toast you again. Happy birthday. It's Friday, right? And Chris, jump in the chat. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me what your plans are for Friday. And if you're staying at home like the rest of us are, I hope you can make the best of it there. There are ways you can have a nice birthday, even if you can't just get out and about and go, somewhere like in a restaurant or whatever. There are ways that you can celebrate your birthday and make the best of the situation on it. And coming up Monday, this coming Monday, the 23rd, I believe, is a birthday for my friend Tony Triozzi. Tony and I go way back to WOFL. He's another one of our WOFL alumni. He worked in sales, but Tony, a great guy, and an excellent drummer too, by the way. He's a great musician. He's a great musician. Tony, here's to you. And I'll toast you again just because I can. Tony is an excellent musician, and his daughter, I believe, is an excellent golfer. Excellent golfer. So a lot of talent in that family. A lot of talent. And then now coming up, and today, let's get up today. I want to make a birthday toast to my good friend Robin. My good friend Robin Sales. Robin, who has a podcast consulting business. She's a podcast brand. She does podcast branding for podcasters, and her birthday is today. So happy birthday, Robin! Very, very happy birthday to you. I want to say thank you. Thank you for having for giving me the opportunity to hang out with you a little bit at Podfest, by the way. In fact, Robin and we had an evening where Tommy and I hung out a little bit late Saturday night. That Saturday night during Podfest, just with Robin and our good friends Sean Yesner and Ed Pennis. Sean, of course, being the host of he's an attorney. He's a attorney for he helps people with debt and other financial issues. And in fact, he put out a book. I had it sitting up here a while back. He signed it for me at Podfest, by the way. The Crushing Debt book. He does the Crushing Debt podcast. Great podcast. If you have some financial concerns or financial worries, or you're going through some kind of a debt issue, or you're having to worry about debt consolidation or debt relief, or you're going through bankruptcy and that sort of thing, he's the man to talk to. And at least in Florida, he's been practicing there for a long time. He knows his stuff, and it's a great podcast. He has a lot of great advice on his podcast. It's definitely a podcast worth listening to. That is the Crushing Debt podcast, and I'm a regular listener, have been for quite a while, and I enjoy his podcast very much. Also, my buddy Ed Panis. Ed and Shelley, who I've mentioned many times, they've been here in the chat for the live stream many times. He's pretty much a regular here. They do a show called Selling Sarasota, and it's actually, some of it's about, because they're real estate agents. They're real estate. They do real estate in Sarasota, Florida, but they're not just. It's not just a show about Sarasota real estate. It's a show about the local flavor, what's going on in Sarasota, whatever the local flavor is, and a lot of there are a lot of podcasts in that kind of a niche for local podcasts. There's a demand for podcasts that have a local flavor, that are localized to a specific community or specific area, and I think they fill that niche very well with their show Selling Sarasota. It's a lot of fun to listen to. It's kind of easy to listen to, very laid back, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to listen to their podcast. So if you get a chance to check that out. So here's a shout out to Ed and Shelley in Selling Sarasota, and also to my friend Sean and his Crushing Debt podcast. It's good stuff. It's all good stuff. So let me check the chat here. Nothing going on YouTube. I know we're there, and things are quiet on Twitch. I know it's going to be a little bit slow getting back into the swing of things, because we were off for a couple of weeks, and we had that. We had the first one, of course, was planned for Podfest, and I was supposed to be back last week, and because I got sick and couldn't do it, we had an unplanned outage. We had an unplanned week off last week, but we are back, and I'm trying to catch up with a lot of stuff. Anyway, we got the birthdays done. Did I toast you, Robin? Yeah, I think I did, right? Happy birthday to Robin. Her birthday is today. So with the birthdays, I'd like to do some national days. So let's toast some national days, because I think there's some fun national days coming up. And of course, another one of my friends, he actually happens to be the CEO of the National Day Calendar. And I pull these from the National Day Calendar at nationaldaycalendar.com. So we actually have a National Day Calendar hanging up. One of his calendars hanging up on our wall. And that would be Marlo Anderson. Marlo Anderson is the CEO and owner of the nationaldaycalendar.com, and a friend of mine on Facebook. Let's see what's coming up today, March 21st. Did you know that March 21st today is National California Strawberry Day? National California Strawberry Day. You know what? I'll be honest. I'm from Florida, okay? And we have strawberry patches in Florida. In fact, my family and I have been to the strawberry patches in Florida, in Central Florida. There was one in Oviedo. We used to live in Oviedo for many years, and they had a strawberry farm in Oviedo. They had a strawberry patch there, and every year we would go out there and pick strawberries. They'd have a period of time where you could, just pay a flat fee. You pick up a couple of big crates, and you go out there and you pick as many strawberries as you can fill the crates with, and bring them home. It's a great deal. which is fortunate for us because everyone in our family loves strawberries, and especially my daughter Tia. She just loved. In fact, from the time that she was really, really young, we called her our strawberry girl. She was our strawberry girl because she could just pack away the strawberries. I mean, she loved strawberries. She still does to this day. She loves strawberries. But we'd go out there to the strawberry patch and we'd pick the strawberries, and she'd eat a bunch of them as well as we were going along. And these things were like, they weren't little bitty strawberries either. These things were huge. These things were huge strawberries. I've got some pictures somewhere. One of these days I'll have to pull them up. I didn't prepare them here for this show, but huge strawberries. But we'd take them home. I remember sitting down at the table as soon as we get home, and my wife would wash the strawberries up, and then she'd set out a plate of strawberries. I've watched my daughter Tia, this is how much she loves strawberries, I've watched my daughter Tia pack away, and this is when she was, 5? 5, 6 years old? I watched her pack away an entire pint of strawberries by herself. She would sit down at the table and she would just eat strawberries. She would put away an entire pint of strawberries by herself, little 6-year-old kid. And it was amazing to watch. It was fun to just sit down and watch her because she'd put them away. And I was like, where are all these strawberries going? But she was our strawberry girl, and still is. But it's funny that how such a little girl could just pack away, just put away all those strawberries. It was amazing. It was amazing. Where was I going with this? I don't remember. See, that's the stream of consciousness show going on here. Anyway, so I was going somewhere. What was it? Oh yeah. This is the national days. This is National California Strawberry Day. So here's the National California Strawberry Day. I did not know they grew strawberries in California. Now, I know they grow a lot of other things there. My sister Gina, who's off in the chat here, their house in Pasadena, they had a neighbor with an avocado tree, and the neighbor didn't really eat the avocados, so the neighbor, my sister would go out there and say, my sister and brother-in-law would say, hey, can we pick some of your avocados? And I said, yeah, take all you want, take as many as you want, because they're just going to rot on the tree, and they didn't want that to happen. So they'd go out there and they'd pick avocados all the time. I remember going over to their house before, and they make some guacamole up, and they just all these free avocados. Avocados are not cheap, and here they are with an avocado tree hanging over there, over the fence there, and they just pick all the avocados they want for free, and it was great. And I love guacamole, so they make a good guacamole, and I'll tell you that's nice. So I knew they had some guacamole. They had some avocado trees in California, but I did not know about the strawberries. So here's the National California Strawberry Day. Let's see. Today is also National for an hour and 3 more minutes. Today is National Common Courtesy Day. Something that is not so common anymore. That's the sad thing about common courtesy is not so common anymore. It seems to be lacking so much these days, isn't it? Courtesy? A lot of people don't really understand the concept of courtesy, it seems. But you know what? National Common Courtesy Day, I think we need a day. We need a day to focus on common courtesy. Don't you think? It makes the world a little bit nicer place to be. Here's to National Common Courtesy Day. I will definitely drink to that. National Common Courtesy Day. We also have National Countdown Day. I don't know much about that, and I could pull up some more information on it, but I think I'm maxing out my bandwidth as it is, so I don't want to risk throwing things offline by clicking on a bunch of links. National Fragrance Day. National Fragrance Day. I'm not sure what that's about, but it sounds interesting. I like a good fragrance, you know. My wife loves to shop at Bath and Body Works, and I've gone there a number of times to purchase gifts for her. And my daughter likes it too. They both like to shop there. I bought gifts for both of them, as a matter of fact, from Bath and Body Works. It's kind of a fun place. I mean, it's not really a guy place per se, but they do have some products for the guys. You know, aftershaves, and they have a whole line of stuff there with for the guys. Not as much for the ladies, of course, but some things for the guys. And you go into that place. Have you ever been in there? It's in the mall. You know, you walk in and you can smell. It's a mix of a lot of different fragrances. And the thing is, last couple of times when I went there to buy gifts for my wife and my daughter, it was really overwhelming. And that place is always crowded. At least every time I go there, that place is just always crowded. But it's a little bit overwhelming. I can't stay there too long because it just starts messing with my nose. And the reason is because, you know, you can test stuff. You can try the fragrances out and rub stuff on your hands or on your arm or whatever it is, and you can try the different fragrances. And the first couple, yeah, you're okay. You know, that smells nice. Oh, that's interesting. You know, my wife might like that, or I might like that. You know, but then you start mixing and matching some of these fragrances, and after a while, it just gets in your nose because it just smells. You know, you got all these different fragrances. It just kind of mess with you, and I walk out there with a headache sometimes. And what you're supposed to do, and that's why they have sinks for them, is you're supposed to go to the sink, you know, you try these things out and wash your hands off and your arms and your wrists and stuff so that you can clear yourself of that and maybe try another fragrance, a different fragrance, so it all doesn't mix up. But I don't always do that, of course, and a lot of people don't. So you wind up mixing all these different fragrances, and before you know it, you smell like, you know, it's weird. And I walk out of there with a headache usually, and considerably poorer because I wound up buying a whole bunch of stuff for my wife, and my daughter, and a little bit for me sometimes. But National Fragrance Day, I'll drink to that. Why not? And today, for another hour, another 59 minutes, is National French Bread Day. Now, that's a fragrance I can get behind. You know, I love the smell. You like the smell of fresh bread? There is nothing like the smell of fresh bread baking, right? Am I right? Come on, seriously. There is nothing like the smell of fresh bread. So, I will definitely drink to the National French Bread Day. I love French bread. A good French bread puts on the pounds. And you're talking about a lot of carbs. You're talking about carbs. Those are a lot of carbs there, but a lot of starch stuff too. Starchy foods. Not good for you to overdo it with the bread. But I tell you what, when you got a nice hot, fresh out of the oven, fresh bread with some butter on it or something like that, it's easy. It's easy to eat, right? It's easy to overdo it. So I got to be careful. But here's the National French Bread Day. I'll drink to that. Let's see. What else we have here for March? National Single Parent Day. Now, I know that, I'll drink to that. I'll drink to National Single Parents. Look, I have my belief system like everyone else does. I'm not going to pose them on anyone else, as I wouldn't want anyone else to pose their beliefs on me. But I believe that, personally, every kid, the best environment for a kid is to have two parents, both parents there. And that's just my belief. Both parents, you really needed two people there to raise a kid and to give them the comforts and to give them the stability that they need. And it is proven, scientifically proven that and of course, you can refute that, whatever. But you can We can argue about that, but it has been proven that children who come from two-parent homes, from intact families, generally have a greater chance of success in life. They have a little bit more of an edge than kids from single-parent families. However, having said that, there are a lot of situations where single-parent families they can't be helped. It's a situation where the kid is in a single-parent family, and it puts them at a disadvantage. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes it just simply can't be helped, for one reason or another. There are a lot of reasons why, and we're not just talking about divorce and things like that, but we're talking about other things. The loss of a parent for any reason. A parent gets killed or dies or that sort of thing. And there's one parent, and it's really, really tough. It's really tough on that single parent, the one surviving parent that now finds his or herself in a position where they're having to raise a child on their own. It's a tough job. Parenting is a tough job anyway, even in a two-parent household. It's a tough job. I can attest to that. My wife and I, we have two of our own. Of course, there were just two kids. I know there's families that are much, much larger than ours, but it's still a challenge. It really is. And my wife and I have had our share of challenges raising our kids. Now, fortunately, we love our kids and they're great kids, but we have had our share of challenges raising our kids. And that's just normal. That's normal with any two-parent family, right? But for a single parent, somebody who's having to raise the kids by themselves, for whatever reason, to be honest, because I've been fortunate enough to have my wife there, it's something that I can't really fathom, and it's something that I can imagine. I don't want to imagine it. If anything happened to my wife, I don't know what I would do, but it's crossed my mind sometimes. What if something happened to my wife, and I was stuck raising my kids on my own? What would I do? How would I deal with it? And to be honest, I don't know that I really could, not very easily. And for that, I have a great appreciation for those who are raising kids on their own, who are single parents, who have to deal with all this stuff on their own with no backup at all. And it's tough. It's a tough job. So I want to take this time, I want to take a moment to toast, a special toast for National Single Parent Day, and for all those single parents out there, some of whom I hope are there right now enjoying a glass of wine. Maybe they put the kids to bed. They put the kids to bed, and it's been a long day, and they're kicking back on a Saturday night and relaxing and maybe watching Drink with Rick, or any night of the week. Come back and catch it later. Sit back with a glass of wine and just enjoy the show. And just say that there are people like me out there who appreciate their dedication to hard work, and their love for their kids, and the how tough it is for them to go through that as a single parent. I think you've earned a toast, don't you? I think you've definitely earned a toast to all those single parents out there. Here's to you on National Single Parent Day. And you know what? I'm going to toast you twice, because I should and because I can. National Single Parent Day. Let's see, today is also National Down Syndrome Day. Well, there's some tough days here. National Down Syndrome Day. I've known folks with, I was personal friends with people that had Down syndrome, that when I was a kid growing up, ever since then. I have known people with Down syndrome, and I've known families with kids with Down syndrome. And we were talking about National Single Parent Day. Let me tell you something. It's tough. It's tough being a two-parent family with a child with Down syndrome. It's really, really tough being a single parent with a child with Down syndrome. There's a lot of extra hardship there, and with the child who has Down syndrome, there is a lot of stigma there that adds to a lot of stigma out there in the world among peers of people with Down syndrome that makes having Down syndrome even more difficult than it is. And it is difficult, but it doesn't help that in the past society has... It's funny because it's only been the last decade or two that people have actually started to come to terms with it and maybe be more accepting of people with Down syndrome and families of people with Down syndrome. But in the past, it has been a very, very difficult road. And once again, having personally known people with Down syndrome and families of people with Down syndrome, I can say that's a really tough situation to be in. And here's to World Down Syndrome Day. I hope that someday that's one thing that we never have to deal with anymore. Maybe that can be eradicated somehow. That's a tough thing to eradicate, but like I said, for those who have Down syndrome and for the families of those who have Down syndrome, here's to you on National Down Syndrome Day. Let's lighten things up a little bit. We've got a couple more days. National Corn Dog Day, the first Saturday of March Madness. Now, of course, March Madness, I don't know how... Have they completely shut that down for March because of this current situation that we're going to get to, we're going to talk about shortly. But I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer on this, but it is something we have to talk about. But National Corn Dog Day. I like corn dogs. Who likes corn dogs? Everybody like corn dogs? Let's see. We've got Amanda's in the chat. Is Amanda in the chat? My lovely niece Amanda. My niece Amanda. Here's to you, as a matter of fact, Amanda. Thanks for joining us on Drink with Rick. You know, my niece Amanda is and I know I'm going off on a tangent, but that's what we do here. That's what the show's about. Shh. Don't tell anyone. I'm going off a tangent for a moment. This is intentional because my niece Amanda is around, and I want to acknowledge her because she is Girl Scout, and this is Girl Scout cookie season, has been for a little while. And I did purchase, just to let you know, I did my part as an uncle, and I purchased 4 boxes of Girl Scout cookies, and they were all the same thing. They were all the mint cookies. Those were the Thin Mints. I love Thin Mints. Look, the thing about Girl Scout cookies, I have a thing about Girl Scout. I'm going to go into that right now about the Girl Scout cookie things. But, and I'm not supposed to be eating them. That's the thing. I'm not supposed to be eating Girl Scout cookies. Okay, I'm not supposed to be eating cookies in general. And much to the chagrin of my wife, I purchased not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 boxes of Thin Mints. And I was doing that to help out my niece, Amanda, in her quest to fulfill her quota for Girl Scout cookies this year. And I hope I didn't go too far overboard. I did not eat all of the Girl Scout cookies, okay? And just to tell you, I've had a few. Yeah, I've had more than a few, more than I should have. And I had a couple today, as a matter of fact. I opened up another box of them, and I had 4 boxes. We ate 1 box here at the house. The second box I took to work and gave to my coworkers because I said, look, I can't eat these, and you guys eat them, which they devoured quickly. And to be honest, I had a few of them myself. Don't tell anybody. Oh, wait, she's in the chat. Hi. But I think she already knows that, or she suspects it. But yes, I took a box of Girl Scout cookies to the office, and everybody in the office loved those. So I had 2 boxes of Girl Scout cookies left, and today I opened the 3rd box during a family meeting and had a few. So the most of the cookies are there, but I had a few there. And so I have 1 box that's left unopened. 1 box of Girl Scout cookies. Now, I cannot eat this box of Girl Scout cookies. And of course, for obvious reasons, I can't take it to the office. And if you don't know what I mean it's because we're all confined to our homes for a while, so I can't actually go into the office to leave a box of Girl Scout cookies. Like everything else, like every other food stuff, these things do have an expiration date. So I have a box of Girl Scout cookies sitting there unopened downstairs that I need to give away. What I want to do is I want to give a box of Girl Scout cookies to you. Somebody here in the chat. It doesn't matter who. But I would like to send you my last box of Girl Scout cookies. While there's still plenty of time left on the clock for those things, I'd like to send you a box of Girl Scout cookies. So I'll tell you what, get in the chat with me. And talk to me in the chat. And it can be on Facebook. It can be on YouTube. We got YouTube chat going. Twitch is still up. Finally, I'm glad to see that. Look on Twitter. Go to you can even email me. Email me at rick@savoyamedia.com. Email me and just say hi. Tell me how you're doing. Give me your thoughts on the show. How's it going? Suggestions on the show. If you want to send me a bottle of wine to try out, or if you want to suggest a wine that I should taste and try out, do that. But please, send me something, and I tell you what, I will randomly pick someone, either from the chat here tonight or from the email at rick@savoyamedia.com. See the email? It's right there. rick@savoyamedia.com. If you're listening to the podcast later, it's rick at SAV, as in Victor, OIAMEDIA.com. rick@savoyamedia.com. Chat with me. Tell me, say something. Say a hi, whatever. I will randomly pick someone, and I will send you my last box of Girl Scout cookies. How about that? That way, that will please my wife, who doesn't want me to eat any more cookies. It will please me because I will have disposed of the cookies in an ethical and in a good way. Bring pleasure to someone else. And it will make my niece Amanda happy because she'll know that I did not buy that box of cookies in vain, right? It'll make everybody happy. It'll make you happy most of all because you'll have a box of Thin Mints. Now, if you don't like Thin Mints, tell me. I don't know if I can do anything about that because they're Thin Mints. I can't change the cookies. But if you like Thin Mints, tell me you love Thin Mints and send me an email saying, I love Thin Mints. I want that box of Thin Mints. You just might win that box of Thin Mints, and I'll send them to you. Okay, if you're the winner. So how does that sound? Box of Thin Mint, free box of Thin Mint cookies. You can't beat free, right? That's what Tommy and I talk about on our Free Stuff Show podcast. You can't beat free. Free box of Thin Mints. Come on, I'll ship them to you for free. Okay? So there you go. Thin Mint cookies. Anyway, so my niece Amanda is, I don't know if she's made her quota or not. I know she was on her way to that. I hope she has at this point of cookies for, selling cookies for her Girl Scout troop. I don't know what the troop number is. Amanda, are you still with us? If you're with us, tell me what's your Girl Scout troop number. We can we'll let everybody know, and then they can, maybe I can put up a link later with a link to where everyone can buy the Girl Scout cookies if they're still available for purchase. I know I'm late to the game on this, but like I said, I was out the last couple of weeks. I meant to do this a couple of weeks ago after I got the cookies. I got the cookies just before I left for Podfest. It was a couple of weeks before I left for Podfest, and I had planned to give that box of cookies away the week after last week, after I got back from Podfest, and that didn't happen, obviously. But I'm doing it now. I'm playing catch up here, folks. I'm playing catch up here on a lot of stuff. Anyway, so that is, I think that's pretty much the national days. There's one more. Okay, I did two. There's National Corn Dog Day. National Corn Dog Day, which I have not yet toasted. Here's the National Corn Dog Day. If you like corn dogs, I love corn dogs. I love corn dogs. They're great. Here's the national, especially with mustard. You put a little line of mustard on the corn dog and then eat it like that. I love corn dogs. Here's the National Corn Dog Day. And let's refill the glass a little bit. The last one here is National Quilting Day. I've got a little story about that. National Quilting Day. I like quilts. Quilts are very, very, extremely comfortable. You have a quilt? Do you have a quilt? Do you know anybody? Is anyone into quilting? Anyone here that is into quilting? That is an art form. It's almost a lost art, in my opinion. It's almost a lost art, but it is an art form, and it is definitely a craft. It amazes me, quilting. I can't do that stuff. I really can't, but it amazes me how some people can do that. And back in the day, a couple hundred years ago, it was quite common to have a quilting bee, right? A quilting bee, like a spelling bee, but quilting bee, where the ladies would get together and they would make a quilt for various reasons. One, of course, being like a special occasion, like a wedding, like if a couple was getting married, they'd have a quilting bee and they'd make a special wedding quilt for the married couple. Kind of a tradition in some places. Well, you know what? My wife and I were very surprised. She and I were very pleasantly surprised because that tradition was actually handed to us. My sister Gina. My wonderful sister Gina. Gina is just, she's an amazing person. She's an amazing person, very, very talented. When my wife and I first got engaged to be married, and that was over 26 years ago, and my sister Gina got together and she made us a wedding quilt. And I don't have a picture of it. I wish I did. Maybe I should take a picture of it. But we have it. We still have it. Over 26 years later, we have it. And it is a treasured and valued gift from my sister. And one of the reasons I love my sister, she is an amazing person. I love both my sisters, by the way. Penny, if you're watching. I love both my sisters. My sister Gina, she made us a wedding quilt. Now, I don't know how long it took her to make it. I think something. It was a while. It took her a while, and she put a lot of work into it. You could tell that she put a lot of work. There was a lot of love in every stitch in that, and you could tell. But she made us. It's a completely white quilt, but she made us a wedding quilt. And Gina, if you're watching now or later, you're not in the chat right now. If you're watching later. Maybe you probably forgot. You may have forgotten about the quilt yourself. I don't know, but you probably figured we forgot about the quilt. No, we didn't, and we have it to this day, and we've used it on many occasions. It's kept us warm on many a cold night, and we have it packed away right now in safety because it is a treasured gift. This was my sister Gina's wedding gift to us 26 years ago, and it is a treasured gift. We were both very surprised to receive it, and we were both really impressed and grateful for that gift because it's just something personal. And it's easy to give it. When I was I've been into a lot of weddings. Okay, I've been to a lot of weddings, and I kind of had a joke going where I said, well, another wedding coming up, it's time to buy another toaster, right? Because it was kind of almost a tradition when I went to weddings for me to go out and buy a toaster for the wedding couple, right? It's almost a joke in a way. And it wasn't always toaster, but oftentimes it was. And this is back in the early days when I was single. And I would go out and get my traditional toaster when I'd go to the wedding. And so another wedding, time for to go out and buy a toaster. You can buy a toaster. You can buy a waffle iron. You can buy a microwave, whatever. You could go out and buy something, right? But the best gifts, and personally to me, the best gifts that I've ever received. Now, I've received a lot of nice gifts. I'm holding one right now, as a matter of fact, a Stream Deck here from my family. But the best gifts that I have ever really received are the ones that were made, that were handcrafted and made personally for me. There's something about a handmade gift. There's something about that personalization, about a handmade gift that really it says, it screams, it just shouts that I made this for you. This is from my own hands to you, to show my appreciation for you, or my consideration for you, or my love for you. There's something about a handmade gift that beats anything from the store. Anything from, fact, you don't go out and buy look, and I'm not putting down people who go out and buy gifts for other people. That's fine. You can go out and buy. I give a lot of wine for gifts for people. Okay, and there's something special about saying I went out and picked this particular wine. I went out and I didn't just go pull a wine off the shelf and wrap it up and give it to you. It's like I sent my sister Penny and my brother-in-law Tom a couple of wines not too long ago. And it was special to me because I went out and I hand-picked those wines. They weren't like, I just didn't just pick up wines off the shelf and say, oh, it won't be good to send them. I hand-picked those wines. Those were wines that I knew that I said, okay, my sister likes reds. My brother-in-law likes whites. And I went out there and I hand-picked, like, this is a good red. This is the right red for her. This is the right white for him. And I packed those up and made sure they got out there. That's okay. I mean, that's fine. But there's so many occasions where you just say, oh, you know what? I got to go get a gift for so and so. I got to, my nephew's having a birthday or whatever, or my kid's having a graduation. I'm gonna go get him a gift or something, right? Just go pull something off the shelf. There's something special. I mean, those things, factory made by somebody in China or whatever that doesn't know your kid from Adam, doesn't know anything, and just says, I'm making another one of these. Right? And it's going to go on a shelf somewhere. It's going to be shipped out to the U.S. and it's going to go on a shelf somewhere, and someone's going to buy it, and who cares, and whatever. Okay, let me go home and do my thing after work. It's okay. There's something special, really special about somebody hand making something for you. Now, my daughter Tia, she's an artist, and she's a wonderful artist. And once again, this is nothing to diminish what anyone else gives me, okay? And the people have given me some fabulous gifts. My son gives me some great gifts. My wife, those are great gifts. But my daughter Tia, for the most part, most of the time what she does is she will sit down in her room. She'll lock herself in her room for a day or 2 days or 3 days on some occasion, and she will hand make me a gift. And will give it to me, and maybe something like, what my son or my wife will give me, something like was expensive or whatever comes from the store. Not diminishing that at all. I really do appreciate that. But there's something that kind of tugs at my heart that's especially special because from a gift that my daughter made for me. Because it came from her. It came from her own hands, from her heart, and it's something that she made. She said, I'm going to make my dad this, or I'm going to draw my dad this. I'm going to paint this. Look at this behind me. This Eat, Drink, Sleep. She gave me that for Christmas. She gave me that for the holidays. Excuse me, I'm taking it back. She's given me so many gifts, I don't remember which occasion it was. No, that was actually for my birthday, I believe. She gave me that for my birthday. And she gave me that specifically for this wine stream. She spent a considerable amount of time planning it. She came with the idea, she planned it, and then she created it. And then she wrapped it up and put it away for me. And that almost brought me to tears when I opened that up. It almost brought me to tears because that was something that my daughter made for me. Came from her heart, her hands to me. That was extremely special to me, as all of her gifts have been. And that's why it's prominently displayed here. Because I am proud. I am proud that here it is. First of all, I'm very grateful to her for making that, but I'm also proud that she made something for me and something related to this that I like to do. And there's something extremely special about that. And it's something that stays with me. That's why it's here. So anyway, I went off on a tangent here. I was actually talking about National Quilting Day, but it comes back full circle in a sense. This is why that quilt that my sister made for me is so special, because she made it with her own hands. And I don't know if anyone else helped her or who helped her, whatever. She signed it too. She signed it, Gina, and the date. And she gave it to us as a gift. And of all the gifts that we received for our wedding day, that is actually the gift. And I'm not diminishing all the other gifts that everyone gave us, because we really do appreciate all of those gifts. But that one is one that stands out, that is extremely special, because it was something that she made with her own hands. That's something that's very special to me. Anyway, here's to National Quilting Day. That was long overdue. I went off on a rant, didn't I? That's to my sister Gina too. Anyway, I think I'm going to we're going to close off the national days, because I went kind of long on that. And I don't mean to be going long on the show, but that is, I am going to go a little bit long tonight, because of the fact that we didn't do one last week. So I'm going to make up for that a little bit by going a little bit long on this one, if you guys are willing to stick with me. If you want to stick with me. Ross is with us in the chat. Ross, it's great to see you. Ross Brand, another fellow podcaster, and he's into some streaming as well as I am. And it's good to see you, Ross. I'm glad you're here in the chat. I hope you're still there. James as well. And James Jerome. It looks like he's still there, still with us in the chat. Look, I want to give some shout-outs as well, because we went through the national days. And I want to talk about Podfest for a minute, but, it's going kind of long here, so I don't want to overstay my welcome with you. Because I know that you're taking your valuable time on a Saturday night to hang out with me a little bit, stay with me, and I do not want to overstay that welcome. And I do appreciate you being here with me. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. It is a privilege to be here and to have you there in the chat with me. Whether you're actually chatting with me or not, it is still a great privilege. Kathy Mark Miller as well. Kathy and Mark Miller, my good friends, Kathy and Mark are with us as well. And Smokey Alert is as well is in the chat. And Smokey Alert says cheers. And Smokey Alert, cheers right back to you. Tell me what you're drinking. Tell me what you'd like to be drinking. Tell me what you'd like to see me drinking. And of course, just to refresh. Remember, here's the Smokey Alert. Thanks for being in the chat here. Yeah, I'll toast you. That's fine. Hope you're having a good evening. And EFDF1 is there as well. Thank you for being here in the chat with us on Twitch. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for being in the chat with us. I was going to say, yes. tell me how you're doing, how you guys are doing. And once again, we were not in Twitch. We've had some trouble with Twitch tonight. I don't know what's going on there, but it's back up. It's kind of down and up and down and up, and right now it's up. But let me know if it goes down again, guys, folks. Let me know. EF, DFT, Smoky Alert, and let me know because I'm trying to track this. So we've been having some Twitch issues tonight. I don't know what's going on with that. I really don't. For the moment, it seems to be okay. I want to give a couple of shout outs. So here's what happened when we went to Podfest, and then late in the game here, my daughter Tia came down with the flu. We cut out at the end of Podfest and headed back home. And I wasn't feeling great about the time we got back home because we were all cooped up in the car together. And you know, my daughter Tia, by that time, she's kind of hacking a lot and stuff. So we're all in the car with her, cooped up. And I knew at that point I was going to get the flu too. She had the flu. I knew at the point that I was going to get the flu at some point. And of course I did after we got back. But we stopped. We did a layover. And now here's the thing. What happened with Podfest was that originally we were planning to be there Thursday through Sunday and leave Sunday or Monday morning, I should say. We'll just stay over through. Podfest went through the 7th through the 9th. It went through Friday through Sunday, or the 6th through the 8th. I don't know. It was that weekend, okay, in March. And we had a great time, of course. But when we left, the plan was originally to be there on Thursdays so we could see some of the pre-show stuff, so we could participate in some of the activities ahead of time. Plus, I really wanted to volunteer some of my time for the Podfest folks to help them out in getting everything ready. I was really thinking that, you know what, I can go down there and help them out with some of the pre-show stuff. That would have been really cool. And I would say, hey, here I am, guys. Put me to work, you know, whatever. I'll volunteer, that sort of thing. And they were looking for volunteers. They had some volunteers. They were looking for some. And I really, really wanted to do that this year. I was looking forward to it. Well, it didn't happen because what happened was my son, Tommy, he's taking a class at CPCC, and there's an astronomy class, and the instructor, the professor, Tommy he'd actually put in way ahead of time, like a month or two ahead of time, a couple of months ahead of time, to be off from work at his job, and he had issues with that, but he was able to get the time off. But the thing is, with school, he was trying to get the time off from school to go to Podfest because it is. Here's the thing, Podfest is, and if any of these professors at the CPCC are watching, which they probably aren't, the Podfest is an educational event for Tommy as well as it is a fun event for both of us. It is directly related to his education because he is going for a degree in media in that respect, and it is directly related to his training on that. So it was important for him to be there, as well as me. The professor, he was taking a class, and the professor would not let him have the time off. Tommy was begging his professor, I need a week off to be able to go to this thing. Professor he said adamantly no, because he would drop him a letter grade if he went. Now, Tommy, if you're watching, don't worry about this. This is all cool. It's all cool. So Tommy said, okay, I guess I'll have to go. So he attended it. Now, as it is, the professor let him off a little bit earlier that night. But originally the plan was for us to leave a day earlier and be there for Podfest on Thursday. It didn't happen because he had to go to that Thursday night class. The class was on Thursday night. So what we had to do is we had to improvise and say, okay, we're going to have to, Tommy has to go to his class on Thursday night. As soon as he's done with his class and he gets home, we're going to leave for Podfest, which meant that Thursday night we were going to have to do an all-nighter. Now, we live in Charlotte. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Podfest is in Orlando, Florida, which means that we had an 8-hour drive from Charlotte to Orlando. And this was going to be an all-nighter. So I knew what I was going to have to do. I was going to have to stay awake and drive all night, 8 hours, 8.5 hours. Actually, it was closer to 9.5 hours because we had to take a couple of stops for gas and take a couple of breaks to that sort of thing. But it was close to 9.5 hour drive to Orlando overnight. Now I don't really have a problem with driving overnight. I like driving overnight. There's something kind of relaxed and tranquil about driving during the night because the only people out on the road are me and a bunch of other truckers, basically. And it's usually pretty quiet. You don't have to worry about going into various towns and hitting all of the rush hours and that sort of thing, going through the middle of time because during the middle of the night because nobody's there. So it's pretty much a clean sail, clear sailing as long as the weather's good. Now, if it's raining, it's not it's a little bit problematic. But as long as the weather's clear and everything, then driving all night, I have no problem with that. In fact, I prefer to drive at night than at the daytime. It's just something more relaxing and something more laid back and not as stressful about driving at night than in the daytime, having to battle all the traffic, right? Especially when you're going through various cities. So I prefer to drive at night. So it was not a big deal for me to drive overnight. The problem is that I had been awake already, and I was going to have to drive all night. And then when we got to Orlando for Podfest, we were going to have to check in right away. We were going to have to check into the hotel, and then we were going to have to check into the event, to Podfest. And then there was that whole day Friday where we'd have to stay awake for all the Friday events, everything happening on Friday. That was going to be the problem because driving down, I was not going to have an issue with that. But once I got there, I would want to check into the hotel and get some sleep, right? Wasn't going to happen because I checked in, we were able to do early check-in, which was not a problem. That was great. And I appreciate it. We were holding this was held at the Marriott, the Orlando World Marriott on Disney property, which is a beautiful, beautiful facility. And really nice, but there's some issues on it on its own. But beautiful facility. But the thing is that we checked in, and funny thing is, too, the first two people, I'm sitting here in the check-on line, and all of a sudden I hear this, "Hey, Rick," and tap on the shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Ed Panis and Sean Yesner. They're greeting me for Podfest because I was actually wearing. I'd been wearing all night. I've been wearing the Selling Sarasota. Can I say that again? Take two. Selling Sarasota T-shirt from Ed and Shelley's show. Say that 3 times fast. Selling Sarasota from Ed and Shelley's show. I think the wine's starting to kick in. Anyway, so they saw me standing there in a line. They happened to be walking by and saw me standing there wearing the Selling Sarasota shirt from Ed and Shelley's show. And and Marlo Anderson's in the chat. Marlo, it's great to see you. I'm glad you're here. Boy, more people in the chat here. Courtney's in the chat. Say hi, folks. Say hi so I know you're here. Marlo, we just toasted all the national days in the National Day calendar. I'm glad to see you, my friend, and Courtney as well. Courtney's great to see you. And how's everybody? How's Matt and everybody there at? This is from the Winestore, by the way. And Phil, my good friend Phil, is in the chat. Phil, it's great. It's always good to see you. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Especially in these days. I know that this can be particularly stressful with the I don't know if we'll call it a quarantine or a lockdown or whatever. It depends on what state you're in, right? but this self-imposed isolation for the current situation. But I hope you're doing very, very well. And I'm glad to see you here. And stick around, please, stick around. Anyway, where was I going? Oh, yeah, so we're getting into the... I'm checking the hotel, and so we're... Ed and Sean come up and say hi and how you doing and all that kind of stuff, and which is really, really cool because it was great to see them. It had been a whole year since I'd actually seen them in person. It was just great catching up with them. Anyway, so we checked in the hotel, and then right after that, Tommy and I, we had to pack the bag. We had to send the bags up. That's a whole other thing by itself. I'm not even going to go into that for this hotel. But it's one of my beefs with the hotel, actually, the beefs that we had with the hotel. With the getting the bags upstairs, but another story for another time. Anyway, so we got that situated, and then Tommy and I went straight to Podfest to check into Podfest. We did that. We did our registration, checked in, and then from there it was all day, just nonstop, everything going on. Tommy had signed up for an all day kind of a mini conference there with for editing, and he was involved in most of that. And I was busy networking. I spent most of my time just networking over there and catching up with friends. So it was an all day event. And of course, in the evening we had the networking event that we had in the evening. This what's called the Strategic Alliance, is where everybody gets together and networks. And that was one of the main events that we wanted to make sure we were there for. The very, very important event. It's one of the key events at Podfest. Very cool. And so we made sure we were up for that. And then later it was some after dinner meetups and stuff. So by the time, now remember, we had driven straight. Tommy had been up all day. He went to his class, and then he couldn't really sleep in the car because he can't sleep in the car very much. And of course I was up. I took a little bit of a nap before Tommy came home, and then from there we jumped in the car and went straight out to Orlando. 9.5 hours actually. We got there at daybreak, checked into the hotel, registered for Podfest, did all the Podfest stuff throughout the whole day, went to bed at somewhere around 1 a.m. So we were up. Tommy and I were awake for well over 36 hours straight with no sleep or no break. We were up for well over 36 hours. And we were exhausted. And the funny thing is, too, I met up with some of my friends like Todd Cochran over at Blueberry and a couple other people, Rob Greenlee from Libsyn and a few other people. And I was kind of punch drunk, you know what I mean? I was just kind of, I hadn't had anything to drink. I was just kind of punch drunk. I was really punchy because having been awake for so long without any sleep, you ever get that? When you're awake for so many hours without any sleep, you start getting a little punchy. You kind of get a little like, you get in your second wind and you're kind of a little overexcited and you're a little like you just wound up. You're just too wound up. And kind of like the way I am now. But you're just overly wound up. So, for me, I'm thinking back now, I'm saying, I kind of made a fool of myself that night because I was just really, really wound up, overexcited. And it wasn't because of Podfest. I mean, there was a lot going on, but it was mostly because of the fact that I hadn't slept for so long. And I had done all this stuff, and I just get there, and it's like nonstop this and nonstop that, and I was just overly wound up. So about about the last event in the evening, I couldn't sleep actually because I was too wound up, and Tommy couldn't finish his last session, I think, Friday, so he went back and crashed for a while until it was time for the Strategic Alliance session. But after all that, I think about 1 a.m, I just crashed I crashed hard. I would just crash hard. It was too much. It was just, I just, it was, I was out. I was just, and of course, the next morning, Saturday morning, we had more events there at Podfest, and we got up late, a little late for that because we had just crashed. Both of us had crashed so hard from being awake so long and just nonstop everything. So it was rough. The first day was rough. I have to say that looking back, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that ever again. It was very, very difficult, but we got through it. And the Saturday was great. We got a little bit of sleep, and the Saturday was a lot of fun. And Sunday and then Saturday night we got to hang out with our friends Ed and Sean and with Robin and a few other people, and we just had a great time. And late night after all those events, and it was just a good time, and it was a lot of fun. Got to catch up with a lot of friends, with old people, and got to meet a lot of new people, a lot of new connections, and it was just really, really cool. But coming back on the trip was a little bit rough because, of course, by that time, Tia was coming down with something, and the trip back, we were all cooped up in the car. So, being cooped up in the car that much, coming back, we had planned this part. Coming back, we had planned to lay over. We were just going to do 4 hours instead of doing a straight 8 or 9 hour drive back to Charlotte from Orlando. We decided to lay over, do 4 hours and stay overnight in Savannah. And we like Savannah. We've been there before. We really like the town. It's a really, really, really nice town, and it's a college town. That's where SCAD is, the university is there, and we've toured SCAD before. Actually, it's a really, really cool place, and it was some place that Tommy and Tia had an interest in attending at some point. So we did tour the university, but this time around we just decided to stay overnight in downtown in Savannah, and I'm really glad we did, because the 4 hours back, that's about as much as I could drive after the whole weekend. That was about as much as I could do was 4 hours driving back. And we drove back to Savannah, stayed overnight in Savannah, and then Monday, and then headed back, did the last 4 hours back to Charlotte on Tuesday, so we can get back here in time for Tuesday afternoon. But that's basically what happened. Now, coming back Tuesday, Monday night, by the time we got into Savannah, it was kind of late, and close to 10 o'clock, and we had got checked into the hotel, and we were looking for some place to eat, and we were just all exhausted. Tia was actually having some symptoms of flu. I was kind of feeling not too great after having overexerted myself, and I knew I was going to get the flu because I just overexerted myself from all this. So I was not feeling very good, and Tommy was not feeling good either. So we decided, well, we're just going to walk a couple blocks and try to get some dinner. The thing is, though, at 10 o'clock at night, there really wasn't much of anything open for dinner. We did find a restaurant called Prohibition. This is what I like to do. I like to give a shout out to the folks at Prohibition Restaurant. They were just about ready to close when we walked into the door. Now, Prohibition is like a restaurant, a bar. It's kind of like a not really a sports bar, but a restaurant, a bar. And they have a nice selection of food. A little bit on the pricey side, but the food's good. But they were just about to close the kitchen when we got there. We checked in as fast as we could, and we went in there, and the kitchen was about ready to close. And so we walked in, and we said, we just got into Savannah. We're exhausted. We haven't had anything to eat most of the day, and And the server said, "Look, I'll have to check if the restaurant, if the kitchen's still open, but maybe we became able to to keep it open and serve you something." And they did. They saw us come in. They saw how tired and haggard we looked. I think they really felt sorry for us, and so they said, "Well, look, we're pretty much closed, but we'll open it back up to serve you something." And they did. I would like to. This was so much appreciated. They didn't have to do this because we came at the last minute, but I'd like to give a special shout out to Anthony Smith, and the folks at Prohibition Restaurant for doing that. The people there, they were really, really nice to us. They were really, we must have looked a mess when we came in, and we were just so tired. But they just said, "Hey, no problem. We'll keep it open. We'll get you some food," and they went above and beyond. And a couple little glitches there, no big deal. The food was good. We were so tired we didn't really care anyway. It was okay. It was all good. But I want to say Anthony Smith and to the folks at Prohibition Restaurant in Savannah. And you can go to prohibition.savannah.com if you want to check them out. These people were great. They took great care of us. They served us the food. The food was excellent. I want to say that especially the fact that they'd already been kind of closing up the kitchen. They opened it up for us and served us the food, and they did a fabulous job doing it. I want to say thank you very much. It was so much appreciated. We really appreciated the fact that you did that for us, that you stayed open for us, and the fact that you served us so well. And you took some great attention to us, always checking on us and all that sort of thing. I want to say thank you very, very much for that. We do appreciate it. And look, I have an appreciation for food service people in general because I've worked in food service for many years. So I know what a tough job it is, how hard it is, how underappreciated a lot of food service people are. But I want to say thank you very much. And here's a special toast to Anthony Smith and the folks, all the staff at Prohibition. Thank you. And a second toast. Thank you very, very much for taking such great care of us. It was much, much appreciated. I know I'm going along on this, but look, this sort of thing means a lot to me. It really does. When people take their time out to do something kind of a little bit extra, it may not necessarily mean that much to them. It might be just part of the job and just one more thing. But you never know that for someone who's really especially in dire straits or is having an issue, it really can mean so much to them. The little things that you do can mean so much to them, and I'm grateful for that. Gordon, I don't know if Gordon's in the chat in here right now. I know he was in there earlier, but Gordon, I want to say thanks for showing up. But Gordon does his appreciation video series, and he's how appreciated it is. And look, I have so much to be appreciative of, and that's one of those things, and that's why I like to talk about that whenever I can, because I'm really, really appreciative to anyone who takes that extra time. Sometimes it's just the little things, the littlest things, that can mean so much to somebody. So that's why it's important to kind of pay attention to some of those details and do the little things, because it can make the difference. It can make somebody's day. It can really mean something special to someone that can really it can do more than make their day. It can be the difference between going without a dinner and having one on a night especially when they need it the most. I had a few other things I want to share with you. I know I'm going along on this, but I had a couple of things I want to share with you. I want to show you where we went. This is kind of cool. This is really kind of cool. We were at the World Center Marriott. uh, I think it was this Friday night, the first night we were there, and I was really punchy, and I was just wired up, and I couldn't sleep. And so I went wandering around the hotel to check out the hotel, and it's a fabulous hotel. Now, granted, it's super expensive because it is a resort. And I had my fair share of complaints about the resort when I got there because I wasn't expecting. I had a little sticker shock when I got there. So to be fair, that was some sticker shock on that because it was a full service resort. I wasn't really quite expecting some of that. But one of the things that I did while I was wandering around the hotel is I stumbled across this. I went up to the top, and they had several restaurants in the hotel. One restaurant that I was not really aware of per se was apparently they have this, which is really, really cool. I got to show this to you. I'm going to explain what this is that you're looking at. And of course, if you're listening to the podcast later, I'm going to have to explain this I don't know if I can really explain it in visual terms or to describe it for the podcast, but what you're looking at here is an image. This was on the top of the hotel. This is an image of all things, a hydroponic garden. This hotel has on the top of the hotel, it has this huge structure on the top of the hotel. It's a hydroponic garden. What you're looking at, and I can't really zoom in on it too much, what you're looking at on those shelves are shelves and shelves of plants, living plants that are used, a hydroponic garden, they're used for apparently, from what I understand, I didn't eat there, but apparently for one of their restaurants, for feeding people there at their restaurants. These are actual plants in this hydroponic garden. And I stumbled across this. I took a few pictures of it, and I wanted to share this with you because I was just floored by this. I was not expecting to see this. I'm wandering around the hotel. It's actually a pretty cool hotel. A lot of restaurants, a lot of different things. And they had a huge pool there. They had a lot of some of the stuff was out of service. Really cool environment. But this hotel, on the top of it, had this huge structure that is actually a hydroponic garden. Now, if you're familiar with Disney, you go to Epcot, and Epcot, they tout their hydroponic garden. They have the land pavilion, and then they have a restaurant in the land pavilion where supposedly, allegedly, all their food that they serve at the land pavilion comes from the hydroponic garden that you can tour in those boats that go through the land pavilion if you've ever been to Epcot. And you can actually tour through their huge hydroponic garden, and they grow all the vegetables, the plants that are used in the restaurant in their land pavilion. And their restaurant's like a revolving restaurant. This is kind of the same concept. This is the same basic concept. This thing is a huge hydroponic garden where they're growing vegetables and plants for use in one of their restaurants, allegedly, from what I understand. This is pretty amazing. This was pretty cool, and I'm walking around the hotel about, I don't know, it's about 1:30 in the morning or something. It's couldn't sleep. And I stumbled across this. I had no idea that this thing existed. This right there, it was amazing. It was just simply amazing, and I want to share that with you because of course, at 1:30 in the morning, and I'm punch drunk and all this kind of stuff. It's like it's when you're walking up there, and imagine walking up there being stoned or something, and you can walk across something like this, and it's like, what the heck is that? And it's just awe-inspiring, right? And of course, during the daytime, it's probably not as impressive, but I think it's impressive day or night. I was so impressed with this. I really was, and I thought this is absolutely amazing. Ed, and Ed's in the chat. Ed, it's great to see you. But Ed, did you see this? Did you? I'm pretty sure you did at some point. this hydroponic garden. It was unbelievable, and it was just amazing. It was really cool. So I want to share that with you. Just some of the cool stuff that I saw at Podfest. Another thing at Podfest, there's a shot of Tommy and me at Podfest. I want to share that with you guys before it got too late. It was pretty cool. We got to hang out at Podfest. It was we just had such a great time there. And I've got another image here. There's me at Podfest. They had this huge. I don't know what it was. Like what basically it's their logo, and they made a three-dimensional. They made a huge three-dimensional thing of their logo for Podfest 2020, and so we had to pose for that. That was kind of cool. I really enjoyed that. That was neat. Anyway, so that was Podfest 2020. You know, I haven't been doing enough drinking, have I? Back to this. Back to drinking. Look, there's so much stuff I want to share with you. Of course, we missed a couple of weeks, and we're going along. We're going way too long. We're going over 2 hours, and that's just way too long. So I don't want to keep you, because I know your time is valuable. Look, I have all night. I can sit around all night, but I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate the time that you're spending with me. There is one other thing that I want to play for you real quick. I don't know if I can. No, I guess I can't do it tonight. I can't read it, though. It is a PSA because, of course, this comes from Blueberry. Of course, as you know, we're all sort of sheltered in place, more or less, because of the coronavirus, the COVID-19, the Wuhan virus, whatever you want to call it. It's a virus, okay? It's a virus. And I know a lot of people politicize it. Of course, we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion on the show. And it dismays me that so many people have actually politicized this thing. But look, let's be real. This is something that affects all of us around the world. And I think there's so many things that tear us apart, that have torn us apart, not just as a country, but around the world, but especially in this country. I think that this is an opportunity. This is something that's an opportunity. This is a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. This is definitely a bad thing. But it is also, in a way, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to sit back and reflect on what is really, really important in our lives, what's really important to us, and a chance for us to come together, to band together, to unite over something. Now, yeah, of course, there is a little irony here, because in order to unite on this sort of thing, we kind of have to divide ourselves in a sense. I've seen those memes. Kind of have to divide ourselves for a social. What is this thing called? The separation thing, social distancing, right? But overall, this is an opportunity for us to unite, to combat a common enemy, and this enemy is a virus. This is serious stuff, folks. This is something that is, some people are having mild symptoms. Some people are going through it like a cold or flu or something like that. But there are people that are dying. There are a lot of people that are dying from this. And of course, a lot of it's, most of the cases, it's people with underlying conditions of some sort. But there are people that are dying and have died from this. This is something serious, and it's something that we have to take seriously. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer on this once again, but it is something that has to be addressed. So during this time, I know this is going to be tough for all of us. It is tougher for a lot of us, tougher for some than others. Now, I'm in a very, very fortunate position, a blessed position, a fortunate position where I can work from home. Okay? My wife has worked from home for years. That's part of her job. She works from home. And my job, of course, I work for by Two Way Radios. It's an internet retailer. So because it's an internet retailer, 90% of everything I do is online. Even when I'm at the office, I have an office. I have a physical office that I go to. I have a physical office with a door on it that I can shut and open anytime, and a desk and facilities there that is my physical office with four walls. Okay, I have a physical office. However, even in my physical office, I have 90% of everything that I do in my office is online. Now, there are some things that I have to do that I have to be there physically for, like we do our podcast. We do the Two Way Radio Show podcast, and we do that pretty much online. On site. We do that. We have 3 mics there, and everybody gets into the room where we podcast in, and we do our podcast and record it and that sort of thing. I shoot videos there. We have a studio, such as it is upstairs, and we have an actual physical studio with actual studio sets. And as a matter of fact, you can see right here, some of the videos that I do, that is done in those sets, on location, by Two Way Radios. Cricker Ventures is the parent company, at our site in Rock Hill, 528 South Cherry Road, Rock Hill. We have a physical office, and we have a physical warehouse where we ship items from. So I actually do have a physical office that I work from. But aside from that, aside from the podcast, and aside from the videos that I do, 90% of everything else I do is online. So it's not a big deal for me I could easily do that from my home, 90% of it. So, and that's what I do. And when we have a snow day or something like that, my boss will call me up and say, the owner of the company, the president of the company, will call me up and say, hey, you got a snow day or something like that. Don't even bother trying to drive in, because it's a bit of a drive from Rock Hill. I have the farthest drive from anyone in the office, from Charlotte to Rock Hill, South Carolina. He says, don't bother coming in today. Just work from home. And I can do that because I've actually, here in the studio, I actually have an exact duplicate of all the equipment that I have in my office at work. I have an exact duplicate of all of that, down to the computer and everything, at home. So if I wanted to, I can it's not a big deal for me to switch off and work from home. And I've done that on many occasions. So it's it's no big deal. My boss calls me up and says, I want you to work from home today. No problem. I just walk in here. I can do it in my PJs if I want to. You just sit down, and I can go to work and do my work, and it's all the same to me. The only difference is that I don't have to drive down to Rock Hill over the border to go to work. Saves me some gas. Okay, so I am in a very fortunate position to be able to do that. However, a lot of people are not. A lot of people are not in that position to do that. A lot of people, they have to be on site. They have to be on their job. They have to be able to whether they work in retail or whether they work on, whatever it is they're doing. The people that, look, we got the lights on here, the people at the electric company, people at the water works, that sort of thing. Those people have to be on site to do their jobs. And a lot of people do. They have to do that. So for most people, this kind of a situation is a lot different. And I appreciate that. I'm not bragging at all. I'm not bragging at all for what I do. I'm very appreciative of the fact that I'm able to work from home. Some other people are able to work from home that they didn't realize that they could work from home before, and they weren't set up for that, but now they're rapidly having to reacclimate themselves to working from home. So that's an adjustment for them. For me, it's not a big deal. I'm very, very, I have been for many years, and my wife is also because she works from home in her job. We are very disciplined to be able to do that. We're accustomed to that, and we have the discipline to be able to work from home. It does take a discipline, and it takes a bit of an adjustment to be able to do that. But for so many people that are not used to it, it's quite an adjustment, and it requires some discipline to be able to handle that. For a lot of other people, they can't do that. There are certain jobs that you can't work from home to do, that you have to be on site to do. And that takes a lot of sacrifice in this particular time when we're all saying, stay at home, we've got a virus going around. You should only be out if it's absolutely necessary. For a lot of those people, it's absolutely necessary for them to go on site. For other people, they're kind of screwed because their jobs are such that they can't work from home. They have to be on site, and those jobs are basically those operations are basically shut down because nobody can get out there to do this. That's a situation. That's a very serious situation. And I understand that, and I appreciate that. These are going to be some difficult times for everybody, especially for those people who are having to deal with that sort of thing. And there are some people that are going to be out of work for a while. This is very serious stuff, folks. This is not something to laugh at. This is not something to make too much light of. This is some very serious stuff. It dismays me, too, that we have celebrities out there. And I don't want to get political, but a lot of people are going to get political about this. There's celebrities out there that are just saying, well, hey, it's not a big deal. It's all let's get through this. And it doesn't really work that way. There are people that are having to struggle to get through this. And if you're one of them, you know that and you can appreciate that. I appreciate that. I've been in your position. Right now I am in a position where I can work from home, but it hasn't always been that way. I have been in your shoes. I have been in that situation where I have to go to work or I don't eat. I have to go to work or I have to be there or I don't eat. And if the things shut down, if operations shut down, I'm screwed. I've been there. So I appreciate that, and I know that. And for all those people, I want to say that first of all, here's to you, because that is quite a sacrifice. But this is nothing to make light of. This is definitely a serious situation. So what I want to say to everyone, I want to say keep the faith. It's going to be tough. I really have no words to describe just what a situation this is. But I want to say that as long as I can do this, if it will help to kind of take some of that pressure off, to take some of that stress off, and we're all pretty stressed right now. If there's some small way that I can take some of that off by doing this, I want to do everything I can to keep doing this. I enjoy doing this, and let me tell you something. I missed you the last couple of weeks that we didn't have this wine stream. I missed you. And I miss doing this because I have a lot of fun doing this. But you know what I have? I think we need this. I think we need this sort of interaction. We need this sort of thing. We need people coming together, and we need this time together. And that's why I'm going long on this. as long as I can do this, I will, and this is my commitment to you. And like I said, this is not what I'm doing here is no big sacrifice for me. I enjoy doing this anyway. But if this is something that can make your life better, this is something that can help you to any degree to take some of that stress and some of that pressure off and some of the worries away for just a little bit of time, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this because I think we need this. I think we need this right now. And whether I need it or not, I think we all need this. I hope it helps a little bit. I know there's some relief coming. I also want to say that with a lot of the Debbie Downers out there, and with a lot of the naysayers and a lot of the negativity that's out there about this sort of thing, I'm telling you, this will pass. Like everything else, like a bad meal, like everything else. It may not seem like it right now, but this will pass. What we're going through with the coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, this will pass. When it passes, in the meantime, between now and then, what we do, what we say to each other, how we treat each other, how we react to all of this is going to make a huge difference in the future. It's going to make every bit of difference in the world. And I think if we are just better to each other, nicer to each other, can help each other, those of us who can help each other, let's do that. Those of us who can't, who are in a situation that where they need help, reach out for help. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed to reach out for help. And those of us who can will. And those of us who can should. Okay? We shouldn't get on our soapboxes and talk about how we're, kumbaya and all this kind of stuff. We should actually be out there helping those who need help. And I'm not trying, like I said, I'm not trying to be preachy about this. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that. What I want to do is saying, look, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. There's a situation. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. But we have to keep the faith, and we also have to band together. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity, folks. It's an opportunity to come together, put our political differences aside, put all of our other differences aside, and come together and help each other and make this better for everyone. So we can all get through it and come out the other side relatively unscathed, and maybe be stronger, maybe be in a stronger position than we ever were before. And that's my message. So, having said that, it's time to close the stream. I want to thank everybody for being with me. Frosty's in the chat. Frosty's great to see you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank everyone who has joined us in the chat. Ed said, I missed something because I went off on my rant and everything, but Ed says, hey, Rick. Ed says, our entire office was asked to work from home. Thankfully, I have a great home office. I'm glad to hear that, Ed. I'm really glad to hear that you're in the position where you can do that. Ed says, no politics. Celebrities are self-indulgent asshats. And he says, cheers. Ed, I agree with you 100%. And I really wasn't going to go there, but I want to say that, yes, this part of that is in response to some of the celebrity stuff that's been going on lately. And let me tell you something about celebrities. I know people who are, and I have friends who are, I want to say, autograph hounds, celebrity hounds. I'm not that type of person. I've known celebrities in my life. I've worked with some celebrities in my life. Some of them are really great people, actually. There are some celebrities that are really, really good people, nice people, by the way. And I have met some. I have briefly worked with a few of them. And working in television for so many years, I have interacted with quite a few celebrities in my day. I don't talk about it a whole lot, especially except in my family. But there are some really nice people who are celebrities who are really nice people. There are others that are, yes, very self-indulgent. I won't use the last word, but yeah. There are some that are very self-indulgent and who have completely forgotten their roots. You know, the thing is about celebrities is that some of those people were born into that. Some of them were the second generation, sometimes third generation. But some of them were actually, they were thrust into stardom or celebrity status coming from nowhere, right? Self-made, so to speak. But they've forgotten where they came from. And you can see that it's very, very evident in some of their reactions. And it's also very evident that a lot of celebrities are so self-important that they think that everybody cares about their view and that their view is that important that it has to be, that they have to proselytize, right? That they have to get on their soapbox and proselytize, and that everyone should listen to their point of view. Look, celebrities are just people. It's overblown. They're just people like you and me. They bleed. They can all get coronavirus just like you and me can. They all have their hopes and fears and their dreams and that sort of thing. Some of them have already realized their dreams. Some of them are very, very complicated and very troubled people. There are some of those. They're no different from anyone else out there. So there's really no reason for us to put them on pedestals or to say that they have any particular insight or wisdom that we don't. Take them at face value like everything else. I don't have there are people that I like that are celebrities, but and people that admire, from afar, but I don't have a particular. I don't put any celebrities on a pedestal where I think that they're any better than me, or that they are any more insightful than me, or that they're any, more. They're people that I should really listen to or take advice from, so to speak. They're just people. They're just people like you and me. So, the whole thing about celebrity status. Look here, I don't even want to go on this tonight because it's too late. But that was one reason why I stayed away from a lot of the podcast conventions and things like that in the past, because look, I've been podcasting since 2006. I'm considered one of the OGs, or the old guard, or old guys in podcasting. And I've seen over the years, a lot of podcasters gain some celebrity status, and within and without the podcast community. But look, here's the thing. I've been in that game I've been part of that whole scene as far as I'm in the background. I don't want celebrity status. I didn't get into this because I wanted to be a celebrity. I don't want celebrity status. I didn't get into this to be well known or to be a big name in podcasting. I got into it because I just want to do my thing quietly. And I would really, really prefer not to have any celebrity status. That to me is something that I don't want. And fortunately, I'm not. I'm not considered a celebrity. Most people don't know me. I know who all the big podcasters are. I know a lot of them personally. I know some of them personally. And I have for many, many years. But I stay low key. I don't want to be one of those celebrity podcasters, and I'm not. And most of those guys don't even know who I am from anyone else. And I prefer to keep it that way. I consider it an advantage. Because I know who they are. They don't know who I am. That's an advantage. So look, I'm celebrity status doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for that. I just want to enjoy what I'm doing. And right now, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy drinking wine with my friends. And I don't. That's why I don't look at stats. I don't worry about stats for my podcasts and things. I don't worry about that stuff. I'm not concerned about it. Now, the very beginning, I was a little worried. It's like, let's check my stats, how many downloads I have for a podcast and that sort of thing. I don't worry about that stuff anymore. I really don't. And I haven't for quite a while. All I care about is doing my thing, what I enjoy doing, no matter what. And you know what? I've done nearly a dozen different podcasts. I can tick them all off right here. I'm not going to, but I can do that. And I've got more in the pipelines that I'd like to do. I'm not interested in celebrity status. What I'm interested in is just enjoying what I'm doing because I enjoy podcasting. I enjoy doing streaming. I'm having a great time doing this wine stream. I'm not here to be famous. I have no interest in being famous or fame. Look, I don't get that many downloads for this wine stream, and I don't care. What I care about is if you're here, and Ed is here in the chat live right now, I care about my friends who are here with me, hanging out with me, just enjoying themselves, and we're just a tribe, just enjoying ourselves, having a good time. That's fine with me. That's what I care about. Just hanging out and doing our thing. And if you get into podcasting because you want to be famous, that's the wrong reason to be a podcaster. That's the wrong reason to get into it, in my opinion. That's the wrong reason. Do it because it's something you want to do, something that you enjoy doing, but don't get into that sort of thing. Don't get into the media because you want to be a media guru. Don't get into it because you want to be famous. Okay, it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's really for all the wrong reasons. Do it because it's something that's a passion for you, that you enjoy doing. And I'm going really, really way long on this. And like I said, I'm making up for lost time. And we're almost at the bottom of the bottle. Look at that. I told you this wine was easy to drink. And once again, this is what we're drinking. We're drinking the Stemmari. This is a Pinot Noir. This is estate grown, 2017, sustainably farmed. I didn't mention that before, but this was an important reason why I opened this bottle up tonight, was because this is sustainably grown. This is more of an organic wine. It's not 100% organic, but it's more organically grown. It's not. Where they said added sulfites. It actually says contains sulfites, but it's not too many added sulfites. It's supposed to be more organic sulfites, and this is actually a pretty good wine. What we've been drinking, to recap, this is light-bodied. It doesn't have a lot on the nose. You can smell a little blackberry on the nose. When I taste it, I could taste the blackberry and the strawberry. I could taste a couple of things, maybe a hint of, and I didn't mention it before, maybe just a hint of vanilla. But it's really more the blackberry, the strawberry, just a little bit of cherry. It's lightly tannic, very light tannics, a little acidic. It goes well with the pasta. I really liked it with the pasta. It goes pretty well with the Trader Joe's Gouda, which is my favorite Gouda cheese, and that's not a surprise because I haven't had a miss yet on it. It goes okay with that. I'm not so sure about the summer sausage. Maybe it needs to be a little more tannic to go with the summer sausage. The mozzarella, I didn't care for it with it. I don't think it mixes too well with the mozzarella. The mozzarella is, I think, too light of a cheese for this. But and I didn't try it with the crackers. I should have tried it with the crackers. But it is an easy wine to drink. It doesn't have the finish is very, very light finish. It doesn't have a lot of aftertaste. So it's going to be, you're going to find it a very, very easy wine. Look what I've done. I'm almost through the bottle, and I was drinking it, just sipping it. I was just sipping the wine. I wasn't gulping it down a lot, but I was just sipping it, and gone through most of the bottle without realizing it. It's it's 13% alcohol by volume, but because we've been on this stream for over 2 hours, it hasn't really had an effect. I don't really feel effect with the alcohol at all. It's actually a pretty good wine for drinking. I think this is great for pastas, and I think it's great for just kind of sitting back and relaxing and drinking a little bit and having a good time. But which is what we've been having tonight, right? I hope so. But I want to thank. This is a good wine. I recommend it. It was purchased. I forgot to mention what I purchased this for. Let's see. Winestore. I purchased it at Winestore, a local wine store in Blakeney, North Carolina. Stemmari Pinot Noir, $9.99. I know it's been going for between. I was looking it up earlier, and I think $9.99 is actually a pretty decent price for this bottle of wine. It's actually a pretty good price for it, so I would recommend it. I would recommend the Stemmari. This is actually a pretty good Pinot Noir, and I like Pinots. I do. They're good wines. So anyway, it's time to close up the stream. We've been doing this for over 2 hours. This is the longest wine stream. This is a record here. This is the first wine stream after Podfest from last year, episode 51. This is also the longest wine stream I have ever done. And I did it because I was making up for lost time because we missed a wine stream last week, and also because of the special circumstances that we're all enduring right now, the coronavirus. I wanted to have a little bit more time with you, and I'm glad I did. Look, I appreciate you for sticking out. And look, if you didn't stick out the whole wine stream, it's okay. I understand. But if you're here with me now, I really appreciate that. I appreciate having you here. No one not really anybody in YouTube, but I want to thank EFDFL and Smokey Alert for hanging out with me on Twitch. I want to thank all those who hung out with me on Twitter, Periscope, and also the site drinkwithrick.com, and of course everyone who has Ed and Kathy and Mark and wow, I mean, so many people that I don't know if I can mention everybody. Marlo, thank you for being here. I do appreciate you being here, my friend. And Chris, Tiffany, and Chris Kremitzos. It's an honor to have had you here. Jamie Bowling's in the chat. I missed that, but Jamie, it's great to see you. Thanks for showing up in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. Let's see, who else? There's a lot of people that are in the chat, but I want to say Pete, of course, and Tim, and my lovely wife, Chi, and everyone who has joined us. Marlo says, I missed this before. Marlo says, hey, Rick, thanks for toasting to the National Days. You're welcome. Marlo, thank you for doing the National Days. That's a lot of work. Marlo does a lot of work in doing the National Days, but thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And toast my friend Marlo Anderson again. Thank you once again for being here with me. Next week, well, I think we have a few wines to choose from. Now, we're all under kind of I don't want to say quarantine. Things can change in the next week. Who knows what's going to happen the next week? I know that some states are if you're in New York or if you're in California or a couple of other states, that there are some kind of lockdown situations going on here. I don't know if that's going to change the next week. A lot can happen in the next week. But hopefully we'll all be together next week. And just in case, I have a few wines set aside. Now, here's one thing. Winestore, winestore-online.com. And Courtney, if you're still in the chat, you can attest to this. Winestore is one of those stores that does curbside service. They will meet you curbside, and they've always offered this option, although I've never really taken advantage of it because I prefer to go in the store, interact with everybody personally in the store because that's just the kind of guy I am. But they will do curbside service. So if you can't make it If you can't go into the store, they will meet you curbside, and you can order for pickup, and they'll send your wines there too. I don't know how Winestore, that's winestore-online.com. I don't know how Total Wine does it. I don't know how some of the other companies that do it. If there's a Total Wine in your area, they might do the same thing. You might have to check with them. But we have an arsenal. I do have wines. And some in my a personal stash, and some right here that we can open in the next few weeks. So if we're locked in, if we're stuck at home for a period of time, I do have some wines here that we can open and we can drink and we can review together. And so we're good. We're good for now. In the meantime, I want to thank you for being with me tonight. And I want you to join me here again next week. Please, you can, please stay safe. You can, of course, join me. You can join me later, drinkwithrick.com. Visit the website. If you have a wine that you want to suggest for me to try, or if you want to send me a wine, that's fine too. If you're a winery and you want to send me a wine review, I will give it a fair review. Non-biased, fair review. Just because it's free, it's still going to be a non-biased, fair review. Okay, that's my disclaimer. But you can contact me at rick@savoyamedia.com for anything. Just contact me. Just say hi. I want to hear from you. Tell me how it's going, and tell me what you like about the show. Tell me if there's anything you want to change about the show, anything that you want to see me do on the show, anything that you'd like or don't like about the show. Email me and tell me, please. I want to hear about it. Next week we are going to give away, just to let you know, next week we're going to give away a copy of Start Ugly. This is from my friend Chris Kremitzos. He wrote this book some time back. This is a great book, and I highly recommend it. We're going to give away a copy of Start Ugly. I also still want to give away that box of Girl Scout cookies. So please email me or whatever later, and someone's going to get a box of Girl Scout cookies from me. That's because I can't keep them. Somebody's going to get a box of Girl Scout cookies. Okay, hopefully it's going to be you. And there's one other thing that before we go, I want to say that you can. We're going to go over a few other things. You can put in for a couple of other prizes here in the next week or two. Join me in the chat, and you have the opportunity to win some other prizes. We're going to give some things away there in the next few weeks. I'm looking forward to that. Some T-shirts, things like that. Some stuff I got from Podfest that I can give away, and that have been authorized to give away. Please, I want to give those things to you. So join in the chat, participate, and you might win one of those items. So, having said that, once again, I was going to read a PSA. There's a PSA here from Blueberry. Blueberry is creating these PSAs. I was going to play the MP3 file. Sorry to Mike Dell, who. I was going to play this, but I'm going to read it instead. It says, PSA, COVID-19, better known as coronavirus, has spread throughout the world. There are a few ways to help lower the spread of this respiratory disease. Wash your hands. Avoid touching your face, including mouth, nose, and eyes. Cover your coughs and sneezes. Monitor your symptoms and consult with your doctor. Stay home and away from other sick people, except for medical care. Clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces. And for more information, please visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Thank you. And that's that's the PSA from blueberry.com. That is actually approved by the CDC. So, having said that, I hope everyone has a great week. I hope everyone has a safe week. Join me here again next week on the Saturday Night Wine Stream, where we can all get together and drink with Rick. Good night.